Greetings from the channel. We're going to enjoy a fascinating story today. I hope you find some time to unwind after reading the story. Remember to subscribe, like, and comment to help the channel. Let's now examine this story's primary theme. Let's begin. She is now a girl of maturity. And a young girl named Tao remains as naive as ever. She relaxes when she looks at the older kids. She still secretly wishes, however, that he would be with her to experience life's pleasures and sorrows. She calls Lon into the room after cleaning the rice cooker. "I want to spend some time at the market, Lon. Are you able to assist me from home?" Lon gave a nod. She had tears in her eyes. "Yes, mother." "Simply leave." She and Lon went past a well-known pho restaurant on their way to the market. She has a lot of memories of her two husbands from this restaurant. They used to frequently come here for a hot bowl of pho after a long day of work, and then they would stroll down the street together. She now thinks of her husband when she is by herself in the pho restaurant. Following their meal, she and Lon made the decision to find a tenant. They visited a local market, which frequently has a large number of workers. She gazed at the wretched faces. She had fatigue in her eyes. She was sorry about what had happened to her kids. She picked a woman in her middle years. Her eyes were bright. But she was short. She was confident that this woman would assist her in maintaining the garden. After her husband left, she had to hire someone to come to the country and look after her family's garden for over 3 years. Every woman in the nation is not safe, no matter what. Her mother and kids went to the side of the road to observe after they had finished eating. There was a dashing man with a soft face and black skin in her eyes. Standing in front of her was something he dared not do. He simply gazed out the window. "You." She gave Sang a call. Lam rushed over to her. "Indeed, what are you asking me to do? Do you know how to create a garden by planting trees?" "I do, indeed." "That's okay, I see. Who are you, then? Where do you reside?" "Yes, I reside in the neighborhood below at Mr. Tin's house. I'm without a home. Below my house, I have a plot of land in the neighborhood. In addition, I require a gardener. Would you be able to get it?" "Oh, that's fantastic. Many thanks." She immediately agreed when she fell in love with someone new because of her compassionate nature. She rented a car for Lam and Lon to drive home after the talk. She needed a gardener as soon as possible to avoid being late because the harvest season was about to begin. She was tall and strong. There was a man in Lam with a powerful and endearing face. No one believed he was a prisoner at all. Even though he had recently received a prison sentence, because there was a happy expression on his face. She was overjoyed. The 3-year-old house has also been harvested during the wrong season because he has struggled to rebuild since that day. Additionally, there is no food left to sell because the rice was harvested at the ideal time of year. Lam was rented by her to go home by herself. Her strength was insufficient to maintain the garden. Neither of the two girls helped. She was quite accustomed to the garden. She assigned Lam to a nearby farm to tend to the garden and plant in both her home and the garden. Mrs. Hung also made it possible for Lam to use the land and increase the rent, as well as to maintain the garden. Everyone in this neighborhood praised Lam for his strength, but nobody recalled his case. "Hey, Lam, you look so gentle, but why are you so worried?" she once asked. Lam inhaled deeply, spoke with her, and said that I also considered feeling more depressed. "Sister, there is nothing hidden. I've previously completed the 12th grade. I went to the village to work as a repairman. In the same village, I married. I found it difficult to handle because my wife's house and mine were close to each other. Since she was new, I married her right away. Following their marriage, the two families were informed. However, individuals are not created equal. My wife even dared to fall in love again after spending the entire day at home taking the test. Eating and playing, I hit her lover after realizing I couldn't control it. I filed a lawsuit after she told me so. I was sentenced to 5 years in prison for purposefully causing harm. I no longer have the courage to return to the village. My wife also left the day I went to the trial. My parents also went, there was nowhere to go. I came here by chance. I later discovered that she was employing people in that garden, oh, and it's wretched. I brought the voice into people, of course. Why is that, I wonder? It's preferable to having her ban you for a long time, more so than the previous sentence. I made sure she had everything she needed. However, I visited the older one, she is nearly 30 years old. My father and I are nearly the same age. She is, in fact, a quiet girl, you say that repeatedly. That's not the case for all girls. I am aware of that, now, however, regretting is ineffective. You still have the opportunity to try again. Please be patient, later, I'll be there for you. No matter where you go, I will support you. Yes, many thanks for that, luckily, you're nice. Otherwise, starvation might also claim your life. She gave a soft smile, she was surprised by how depressing the tale of his transgression was. When someone is in love, their actions and heart are constantly trying to dominate the other person. It's simple to comprehend, everybody has a unique destiny. I can't hold him responsible. God has the final say. Her affection for Lam grew from the moment she learned his story. Because of her love and her own, she wished to erase the hurting heart. It was a little different, but she felt sorry for Lam's mother. Additionally, she began to offer Lam something unique. Lam was more important to her. She occasionally came down to speak with him as well. She passed by when he was sleeping and then saw him working while intoxicated. She had no intention of moving with a gardener for herself ever again. Lam was aware from her experience that Mrs. Hung was starting to take notice of him. In order to get Mrs. Hung's attention, he purposefully created a garden before removing his shoes. He needed to find a way to get close to his mistress because he had to work to make ends meet. He knew that Mrs. Hung had just walked by to give him a quick glance or turn to face him in order to make himself more noticeable when he was by himself in the garden. Despite the fact that they both had feelings for one another, they continued to walk around in that manner. Perhaps the fire had been burning for a long time, and since they had both been through it, whatever happens will happen. But do you want me to suffer? Lam asked. All I ask is that you not hold me accountable. I always want to look after you and be loved. I have never placed blame on you, but I want you. You have my undying love. After saying that, Lam hurried to his mistress. It had been a while since a woman approached him with such vigor. How unfortunate that he didn't find it enjoyable. Lam was so thrilled that he gave Mrs. Hung a tight hug and kissed her passionately. They spent the entire night together. The fresh wind from Lam made Mrs. Hung very happy. Lam appeared quite normal, but I didn't anticipate it being so stormy. She hadn't felt this at ease in a long time. Her husband had never before shown any concern for his wife. Later, he became ill and was unable to do anything. Despite having a husband, her romantic life was, to be honest, extremely complicated. Thus, she developed feelings for this young man. Following that evening, Mrs. Hung paid Lam a daily visit. To stay near him, she gave him this and that while checking the garden. Her oldest daughter, Lam, attended school in the city and occasionally returned on the weekends. Lam went out of the closet, which is why Lam didn't like Lam. He therefore made an effort to stay away from as much as possible whenever he returned home. On the other hand, Lam was adored by his sister. She didn't touch anything in the house since the day he got home. Compared to Lam, she spent more time at home with her mother. Thus, she interacted with Lam more. He was, in my opinion, a very gifted and laid-back man. He was in the garden all the time. His feet and hands were therefore constantly filthy. Mrs. Hung was harvesting fruits and vegetables in the house. On the weekends, Lam would occasionally return home and lend a hand however he could. He occasionally caught a glimpse of his mother leaving for a while to go down to the stream. He was worried that he wouldn't dare sleep because he had 2 kids. To be sure, he needed to see his mother return home. He once witnessed his mother carrying food to the stream so he could wait there for a while before following her to the door. He was overjoyed to hear Mrs. Hung's voice. He was extremely joyful. He was uneasy because of Lam's voice and Mrs. Hong's endearing voice. Although he was aware of boys and girls living together in the 10th grade this year, he never imagined his mother and the gardener would reunite in such a manner. He felt uneasy when he looked at the door and saw two white bodies encircling one another. Everything struck his eyes, and he was powerless to stop it. After covering his mouth for a while, he left in silence to go home. He recalled his mother's endearing voice from his time under her body for a few days. He stood outside to observe Mrs. Hong's descent as well. He wanted to be like his mother because he was so enthralled. After that, he began dressing up more and more. He became increasingly uneasy when Lam appeared and pretended to touch her. Lam was initially unaware of it and believed he had touched her by accident. When he dressed up, though, he became more aware of it. His pants were too short and his shirt was too tight. He didn't notice it while he was at home. Lam was so enthralled that he believed his mother might be speaking to him. He turned around and caught a glimpse of Nu's body. He couldn't control himself because every time Mrs. Hong came down to work with him, all he could think about was Nu's youthful body. He left nothing for himself because he was weak and old. He could use Mrs. Hong's bathroom, which was close to his house. Additionally, there was a separate toilet and bathroom for his mother and son. He had to take a shower in the bathroom that day because there was no water in the house. He came through the window from the restroom. His body was as white as jade, he thought. He became increasingly enthralled with each round. He rushed down to his house because he wanted to fall in love. It was so frightening that he dared not make a sound. He went outside to stop Mrs. Hong as she emerged from the garden and give her a cheek kiss. However, he asked her to come in and console him because he missed her so much. He now missed her every day because he missed her so much. All he could think about was how sad he was without her. Then he rushed out to find her. In order to quench his cravings, he quickly dragged Mrs. Hong into the garden. She was aware that he was in love with her daughter, but he had to leave her because he was powerless to stop it. Mrs. Hong was also filled with water, but he was saddened by the scent of her daughter. In order to make money, he quickly created a garden for Mrs. Hong and more for the neighbors. He came home late at night after work and sat down to drink beer with a few men from the neighborhood. Despite her discomfort, Mrs. Hong believed he would only return home late at night. Mrs. Hong had just returned from school when he rushed back to the gate. Mrs. Hong inquired as to whether he had just returned from a beer. In response, Mr. Hong stated that he had just returned late at night in order to get ready for the school day. He was worried about being late for school, according to Mrs. Hong. Mr. Hong expressed his fear of being late for school. Mr. Hong expressed his fear of being late for school. Mr. Hong expressed his fear of being late for school. Mr. Hong expressed his fear of being late for school. Mr. Hong expressed his concern that he would be late for school to class. Mr. Hong expressed his fear for the school. He stated that he would be late for school. According to Mr. Hong, Mr. Hong expressed his fear of being late for school. He would be late for school, Mr. Hong said. I went home after Mr. Hong informed me that he would be late, but I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. I entered to prepare to descend to my sister's room by making a phone call. Tears filled my eyes as I gazed at her. I was sorely missing her that I felt like crying. I was unaware that I hadn't slept for the entire night. That's how working with Lam was. Lam's voice came to me. I gradually sat up and got dressed so I could descend. I didn't stay long because she was going to school and was an outsider. We returned to my mom's house to cook in the afternoon after Lon brought me home. She took a bite of rice after eating and brought it down. You're here, Lam. Lon had a large amount of food. I gave you a small portion. Thank you. Is your service being compensated for with this? That's not who you are. All I have to do is wait for you. I therefore lose my energy serving a precious lady like you. Hung grinned and got to his feet, reaching out to embrace Nu's slender waist and gently pressing his lips to hers, but he was powerless to resist the attraction. Lam and Hung continued rolling the coin in the toilet after being stabbed into it. Lam was so engrossed in Nu's healthy body that he was able to open both locks, rolling the coin deeper and deeper like a cuckold in the toilet, before dressing and leaving for home. Lon and Hung returned the following day. Everything had returned to normal. She called Nu down because she was rushing and didn't have Hong, but she didn't have Nu, so she rolled it in the toilet to chastise Hong. For roughly a year, the three of them kept going around in circles like that. The two mothers continued to move back and forth despite Hong's realization that it was not acceptable to descend indefinitely. The neighbors inquired once more, and Kyo had a day to meet. Therefore, he needed to figure out how to get to the main house. After Hong was freed that evening, Lam gave her a deep, heartfelt hug. I know I've had a lot of broken things in the past, and I know that what I'm saying now, maybe with Hong, is not good, he said, turning to face Hong. On the inside, though, I've been battling it constantly. Hong is still listening, I said. I wish to serve as a location for the house and Hong. I would like to spend more time with Hong as a husband and wife. A broken leaf is the last thing I want. I gave it some serious thought. I'm positive I don't want to worry about Hong or have to wait any longer. I want Hong to take care of me every day, even if she doesn't trust me. I've been hoping for that for a while. Yes, I understand. I would also like Lam to be with me. I'll go to my house tomorrow to tell my family, and after that, we'll throw a small party to tell surrounding neighbors. I appreciate your unwavering love for me, Hong. I appreciate your unwavering support, Lam. Lam then gave Hong a firm embrace. Lam said she had something to say when Hong called her the following day to have dinner with both parents. I called you both today because I wanted to share something with you. It's because Lam and I are attracted to one another. I have Lam by my side because it's been a while and I'm not as young anymore. Lam and I planned to throw a small celebration for them both after we were married. What are your thoughts? I'm happy for you, Mom. We believe in you and stand by you. As I smile to congratulate you, I hope you will always love us. Lam and I will therefore no longer need to descend the stairs. It's great. Lon, however, is the opposite. She still doesn't believe that I have another husband who takes care of the family's garden. I don't agree with her. To let you both know that I don't want to act as though I want it, I want to tell you about this love story. Lam and I will therefore plan the release of those two next month. Therefore, it is up to you. Lon was upset about returning home. She found it incomprehensible that her mother was so oblivious to the gardener's name. She found it harder and harder to accept the more she considered it. When Hong saw Lon in that state, she became concerned. Embarrassed, she suggested that Hong be let go if Lon was unable to accept it. Give the infant more time to reflect. What is there to consider? Ignore it. Still, you've made up your mind to do it. There is no need for concern. I'll speak on your behalf, Mom. You can't accept it at first because you're probably still in shock. Hurry up. Yes, having a child is a good thing. I'm not knowledgeable about education, but I'm not sure what to think for Mom. I'm at a loss for words. The two children of Hong and Lam are currently being released. It's similar to running around with your mother. Lon and Lam continue to act in that manner. She doesn't disagree that she will agree, but she doesn't object either. How old are you, of course, to take on the role of stepfather for her? How are you going to accept it? The more you consider it, the more irrational it seems. She also reads a lot of articles about her mother-in-law being the only one to marry and the fact that she will eventually have a stepmother. Even though some people have friends in common, Lon still finds it difficult to accept him. Lam also relocated to the main house to live after the wedding. He can now enter the house with authority and shouldn't be concerned about anything else. He and Hong had a romantic relationship, and Lam and Hong continued to have a relationship. At night, when Hong was sleeping, he gave her a hug as if he were going to his two wives' rooms. Hong's family's economy was also somewhat more affordable from the moment they were married. There was also more food for the family. The cost from the garden was also higher because Lam could only do calculations. Everyone agreed that Hong made a wise husband choice. She was even capable of cooking. Hong grinned tearfully. She was thrilled to see Lam in such good health. She also had a cozy family life. Hong was still disliked by Lon alone. Lon hardly ever went to the house after she married Hong. No one knew that Lon was intoxicated by love, which is why she didn't want to return home much, but everyone assumed that was because she didn't like Hong. However, nobody anticipated Hong's strength. Naturally, she collapsed to the ground and walked away. Both of her husbands died just 5 or 6 years ago. She was adored by all. She had both talent and beauty. Although her kids were nice, there was no lasting contentment. Lon quickly left the city to attend to her mother's business after learning of the news. Thankfully, Hong's family was also full because there was a man in the house. Everyone went home after taking her to eat and rest with her husband. Nevertheless, her funeral was not yet over. Although she was unable to focus, she passed the exam at the end of the year while in the 12th grade. Lon was afraid to return to the city after seeing her in that state. In order to take over her mother's former job and remain at her home, she requested a leave of absence. She made the decision to go down to the yard when she noticed Lon wishing to avoid trouble. "I have 2 sisters now," Lon said. "I'll take the money to fix it down there if you go down there tomorrow. My 2 sisters are waiting for the holiday to arrive in the neighborhood up there." "Yes, that is exactly what I was going to say," God remains certain. "Starting tonight, I go down there and wait." Up there, the 2 sisters remain. Fortunately, everything was fine the other day. There was no rush to fix it, the funeral was over. I had been down there before. I packed up my belongings and headed down to the yard after I had finished speaking. He felt a little sorry for Hong, but he didn't want the neighbors to think about it. "I couldn't do anything, though." Breathe deeply. Life is unique, it's true. Lon feared being by himself at Lam's house. She would live the rest of her life regretting whatever had happened. However, Lon was unaware that her fear had already materialized. Then Lon came home to look after her and the yard instead of her mother. She was glad I was going home, but she was even more upset when I had to go downstairs. The class celebrated the end of the school year by going on a 2-night excursion following the exam. She urged me to take a walk because she was worried that I would sit at home and think a lot. I didn't notice anything while I was sleeping downstairs because I didn't care about it and assumed I would never come down here. Lon received a lot of food at home that day. I carried it downstairs and walked in. After opening the door, I noticed that I was on the ground, lying down. Lon was salivating. The person wearing those old clothes was surprisingly attractive. Lon accused herself of being thoughtless. She went upstairs after setting the food on the table. Even though I was dreaming, I remained motionless. Lon was examining everything I owned, but I noticed that she was unresponsive. I reasoned that I could go upstairs and still visualize myself lying down if I wanted to irritate Lon. I was unable to get rid of it. I cleaned the door and tidied up the merchandise while sitting on the floor. I was going to bed at night when I noticed Lon asking if there was anything left to eat upstairs. "You didn't have time to prepare anything since you arrived home late. A small amount of food remains here. You enter the house and eat." "Thank you, indeed. You eat while seated. I'll call you down and shut the door when you're finished." Lon went inside after nodding and stating that she already knew. In fact, she had already eaten, but all she did was open the door and go to Lon. She waited for 10 minutes or so to open the door and finish her meal. She exited, shut the door, and proceeded to Lan's room. Lon was working on something when I peered out the window. Lan's body was gorgeous in every way. I failed to notice any details. "What are you doing here?" Lon asked, turning around. "I went up and told you to go home because I was about to tell Lon that you had finished eating. However, you ignored me." It sounds like a romantic tale. However, this is a feature of human nature. Isn't that correct? They make mistakes with one another, but occasionally they are unable to move past their emotions. Thankfully, though, they now have a contented family. In order to live a beautiful life and try to avoid mistakes as much as possible, let's put our mistakes in the past. This concludes our story, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to inform us by leaving a comment, and now, goodbye to all of you. See you in the upcoming episode.